should have kept driving. I should have ignored the vacancy sign flickering in the rain, but the storm was too violent. The wipers on my car were slapping useless streaks across the glass, and when the lightning split the sky, I saw the outline of a squat little building on the side of the highway. An old roadside motel, the kind with peeling paint and buzzing neon, the sign sputtering the word vacancy like it was on its last breath. I pulled in without thinking, gravel crunching under the tires, and for a moment I sat there gripping the steering wheel, headlights washing over the front office, because something felt off right away. Like the place wasn't abandoned exactly, but it wasn't alive either. Too still, too quiet. The rain hammering down on the roof of my car like nails. I finally got out and dashed across to the office. The bell above the door jingled, but the lobby was empty, smelling faintly of mildew and cigarettes, wallpaper curling at the edges. And then I saw him, a man behind the counter. He hadn't been there when I first walked in, I swear he wasn't. But now he stood perfectly still, smiling just a little too wide, his skin waxy like it had been pulled too tight. He asked me what brought me in, his voice calm but flat, and I muttered something about the storm, about needing a place to wait it out. He nodded and slid an old-fashioned key across the counter. The tag read, Room 6, his eyes never leaving mine like he was memorizing my face. I shoved the damp bills into his hand and hurried out. Before I could really think, the hallway leading to the rooms was dim, one of the overhead lights flickering every few seconds, buzzing in that sick way fluorescents do. The carpet damp under my shoes like it had soaked up years of spilled rain. Room 6 was halfway down, and when I unlocked it, the door groaned like something didn't want me to enter. The inside smelled like dust and copper, the sheets stiff, the furniture ancient, but it was dry, so I tossed my bag onto the chair and sat down on the bed, trying to shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at me. That's when I noticed the dresser, the top lined with framed photographs, all black and white, each one showing different guests, couples, families, lone travelers, all posed in front of the exact same room I was in, Room 6, their smiles strained, their eyes tired, and in every single one of them, tucked into the background, was the faint outline of the man at the front desk, younger in some photos, older in others, but always there, always watching. I picked one up, my fingers trembling, and that's when I heard the click. A shutter sound, crisp and undeniable. My head whipped around, but no one was in the room, only the faint smell of chemical film hanging in the air. My heart thudding. I opened the closet, checked under the bed. Nothing. But when I turned back, the photograph I'd been holding was different. It wasn't the family smiling anymore. It was me, sitting on the bed, holding the frame. My eyes wide with fear, I dropped it instantly, the glass cracking on the floor, and the sound must have carried, because from down the hall I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, pacing toward my door. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. The footsteps stopped just outside, silence hanging so thick I could hear my own pulse. Then a whisper seeped under the door. Soft, steady, don't look away. And the knob began to turn. The knob rattled once, then stopped, and I held my breath so tight I thought my chest would collapse. The silence after the whisper felt worse than the whisper itself. I didn't know whether to scream or run, or just pretend I wasn't there. But then the doorknob slowly eased back into place. Like whoever was on the other side wanted me to know they could come in anytime they wanted. They just chose not to. The footsteps retreated down the hallway, steady, almost dragging, until they faded away. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I sat on the bed with the lamp on, my eyes locked on the door, and every now and then I swore I heard faint scratches on the wall, like fingernails tracing the plaster. When the storm finally broke and the gray light of dawn slipped through the curtains, I bolted. I grabbed my bag, shoved everything inside without bothering to check, and yanked the door open. The hallway was empty, the buzzing fluorescents still flickering, but every door I passed on my way out had been cracked open just slightly, enough that shadows moved inside them. I didn't dare look. I kept my eyes fixed ahead until I reached the lobby. But when I got there, the desk was empty, no sign of the man. Only a stack of photographs on the counter, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all scattered like someone had been rifling through them. I didn't want to, I told myself not to, But my hand moved on its own. I lifted the first one and almost dropped it right away. It was me, standing in the hallway. Not 5 minutes ago, my head down, rushing past the cracked open doors. The second photo was me again, in the room, staring at the dresser in shock. The third was me asleep, my head tilted, mouth open, on the bed that I knew I hadn't slept on. Every single photo was me, from angles I couldn't explain. Some from above, some from corners of the room I knew I had checked. A sick realization spread through me. Whoever was behind that desk didn't just collect photographs of guests. They collected moments. They owned them, framed them, trapped them, and somehow I had already become part of it. I bolted for the glass door, but froze when I saw the parking lot. Every single car out there, maybe 20 of them, were coated in a thick layer of dust, tires flat, windshields cracked, like they hadn't been moved in decades, except mine. My car gleamed wet from the rain, its engine still ticking. Out of place among the corpses, I sprinted for it, fumbling with the keys, throwing myself inside, slamming the locks, my heart racing, the motel shrinking in my rearview mirror as I tore back onto the highway. I didn't look back, not until I'd been driving for hours. But when I finally pulled into a rest stop to calm down, I noticed something that made my stomach turn. Tucked into the passenger seat of my car was a Polaroid, fresh. The chemical smell still strong. It showed me gripping the steering wheel, the motel sign glowing in the distance behind me. I threw it out the window, telling myself it was over, that I was gone. But when I reached into my glove box for a map, I found another photo, the same image, folded neatly inside, the whisper still in my head, "Don't look away, don't look away." I told myself I would never go back, that I'd forget it. But for weeks after I couldn't sleep, every night I woke with the sense that someone was in the room with me, standing just beyond the reach of the dark. I finally convinced myself I was paranoid. That exhaustion was twisting my head until last night, when I came home from work and found a stack of photographs waiting on my kitchen table. Dozens of them, showing me at work, on the subway, unlocking my apartment door. The door, all taken from angles that shouldn't have been possible. And at the very bottom of the pile was one last picture, my face frozen in shock, staring down at a stack of photographs, the exact moment I was living. Proof that the collector hadn't let me leave. He'd followed me. He was with me now, and the whispers were right. There's nowhere to run, because once he takes your picture, you don't belong to yourself anymore. You belong to him. I thought I could just move, change cities, start fresh. But photographs don't obey borders. They don't obey distance, they follow. And that's what I learned the hard way. Because no matter where I went, the stack kept growing. Sometimes tucked under my door, sometimes mailed without a return address, sometimes just waiting for me in places nobody should have been able to reach. Like my locked desk drawer at work. Every time I told myself I'd burn them, shred them, tear them up, and I did. I destroyed dozens, hundreds. But every time I woke up the next morning, the same images would be neatly stacked on the nightstand, like nothing had happened. Sometimes with new ones on top, proof that while I slept he'd been there, not only in my room, but inches from me, close enough to see the twitch of my eyes, the way my chest rose and fell. I bought cameras, alarms, locks, but they never caught anything, just static, black gaps, empty frames, like he wasn't just avoiding them, he was erasing himself from the very concept of being recorded, except when he wanted to be. And I realized soon that he didn't just collect moments, he curated them. He chose what I remembered, what I saw, what I was forced to relive over and over. I stopped leaving my apartment after the day I opened my office door and saw every inch of the walls plastered with photographs of me sitting at that very desk, writing the same report over and over, frozen in an endless loop. I'd screamed, torn them down, but underneath was another layer, older photos. Me as a kid, me in my parents' house, images I'd never even known existed. proving he hadn't found me that night at the motel. He'd been with me for years, waiting, cataloging. I'd tried to call my family, but every time I picked up the phone, the line was dead. Only the faint sound of shuffling paper on the other end, like someone turning through a photo album. I tried to run. I packed a bag and got on a bus to nowhere, but the seat beside me already had a Polaroid waiting, face down, and when I flipped it over, it was me on that bus. The camera angle from across the aisle, even though nobody was sitting there. I felt eyes on me the whole ride. Every bump of the road made me clutch the photo tighter until I finally tore it in half and tossed it out the window. But I already knew it didn't matter, because when I got off the bus at a random stop in a random town, there were more waiting, stuffed into my pockets, slid into my shoes, taped to the inside of my bag. I don't know how they got there. I don't know how he gets anywhere. I only know he's everywhere at once. Always behind the lens. The first time I saw him clearly was 2 weeks later. I'd been in a hotel again. This time a chain, bright lights, cameras everywhere, real people coming and going. I thought maybe it would help. Maybe he wouldn't follow me somewhere so exposed. But at 2 a.m, I woke to the sound of a camera shutter. Faint, but undeniable. I turned on the light and saw nothing. But on the desk was a fresh photo. My own terrified face illuminated by the lamp I'd just switched on, meaning the picture had been taken a split second before I turned. And in the corner of the frame, just barely in focus, was him. A tall figure with no real features, only a smooth, pale oval where a face should be, holding an old camera that looked like it belonged in a museum. I stared until I couldn't breathe. Then, I threw the photo across the room. But when it landed, the image had changed. No longer me in the hotel bed, but me standing over the bed, staring at myself asleep, like he'd switched places with me, showing me the way he saw. I left right then, didn't even pack my bag. I ran barefoot out into the night, not even caring who saw, but nobody looked. Nobody reacted. Like I didn't even exist to them. Like the second he chose me, I stopped being part of the world. I wandered for hours before collapsing on a bench, trying to convince myself it was a nightmare. And when I woke the next morning, there was a stack of photographs in my lap. All of me sleeping on that bench, and in every single one, his pale, faceless head was tilted closer, closer, until the last photo was nothing but the camera lens filling the frame, the glass dark and endless. I think he wants me to understand something, that it's not about death, it's about possession, about turning me into an exhibit in some private gallery I'll never see. I've stopped fighting, stopped throwing the photos away. They're stacked all over the apartment now, in neat little towers that shift in the night. Sometimes I hear the click of his shutter, and I don't even flinch anymore. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the dark glass of the TV and swear I see his pale oval head beside mine. But the worst part came. Just last night when I found a new stack on my bed, fresh chemical scents still clinging, but these weren't of me. These were of people I knew, friends, co-workers, family, each caught in candid moments, some laughing, some eating, some sleeping, and in every single one of them I was in the background, standing just behind them, watching, smiling, sometimes holding a camera, sometimes not. And that's when I realized what he was doing. It wasn't just about collecting me. It was about making me part of his collection, part of his perspective. Like he was teaching me how to take over his work, training me to be the one behind the lens. And I don't know how long I have before I stop being afraid and start becoming like him. Because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I feel the weight of a camera in my hands. Old, heavy, familiar. And when I open them, I see flashes of other people's lives. Lives I haven't lived yet, but will. Lives I'll capture. Moments I'll steal. And somewhere in the distance, I hear his voice without words, telling me this is the way it's always been. The collector doesn't just choose his victims, he chooses his successors. I don't remember when I stopped sleeping. I don't even remember if I've slept at all these past few days, or if he's stolen that from me too. All I know is the photographs don't wait for me anymore. They arrive whether I'm awake or not. I'll be sitting at the kitchen table, and hear the faint crack of a Polaroid ejecting. And when I look down, there's already a fresh photo sliding out from beneath my hands. Sometimes it's still warm, the chemicals wet, the image slowly bleeding into shape, until I'm staring at something I haven't even done yet. I used to scream when that happened. I used to beg him to stop. But now I just watch. I wait. Because I know the picture is always right. It always comes true. Like the one I found yesterday of me standing at my window, arm raised, camera pressed to my face, and hours later, I found myself at that exact angle, unable to stop, unable to lower my arm, as if my body belonged to the photograph and not to me. And when the shutter clicked, it wasn't my camera, it was his. Heavy, ancient wood and brass. The strap cold around my neck, even though I hadn't put it there. I don't know how to explain the way it felt. Not like holding an object, but like gripping a part of something alive. Something that had always been waiting for my hands. And when the flash went off, I didn't see the window anymore. I saw a dozen strangers' faces frozen in terror, wide-eyed, caught forever in the white explosion of light. I dropped the camera, and it was gone. No trace of it on the floor, only a new stack of photos waiting where it had been. A stack of strangers who now exist only in that frame, trapped like insects under glass. I wanted to run again, but I know now there's nowhere to run. There never was. The collector doesn't chase because he doesn't need to. He's already there, already behind you, already inside the moment you think you're living. He doesn't hunt, he harvests, he cultivates, and I think he's been cultivating me since I was a child. I've started remembering things I shouldn't. Faint flashes of him standing in the corner of my room when I was 6, of hearing a shudder in the middle of the night, of waking to find photographs tucked into my toys. How did I forget all of that? How did I convince myself he began at the motel? Maybe because he wanted me to forget until I was ready. Maybe because this isn't about being taken, but about being prepared, trained, sculpted into what he needs. The last stack of photos proved that. They weren't of me or strangers. They were of him, the collector himself, faceless, but framed in ways that made sense, like portraits. Like he wanted me to study his posture, his angles, his silence. And the final photo in the stack was different. It was me. Not as I am now, but dressed in his long, dark coat, my face blurred into pale nothing, holding his camera at my chest, and behind me was a wall covered in thousands of photographs. Not his, mine. Every face I'd ever known trapped behind the glass of that lens. I think that was his gift to me, or maybe his command. I've been hearing the clicks more often now, even when I'm not holding it. Faint, mechanical snaps echoing inside my skull. And sometimes when I blink, the world freezes just for an instant. And when it moves again, people are slightly different. Their eyes a little wider, their smiles broken. Like they know they've been captured, but can't remember when. I've stopped leaving this apartment. Not because I'm afraid of him, but because I'm afraid of myself. Afraid that if I see anyone I care about, I won't be able to stop my finger from pressing down on the shutter. I don't even see anymore. It's just instinct. Muscle memory that isn't mine, but his. But even hiding here hasn't helped. Tonight I found a new stack on the bed, thicker than any before. And when I started flipping through them, I saw you, yes you, sitting there reading this. Your face illuminated by a screen, your eyes tracing each word, your expression shifting from curiosity to unease to dread. And in the corner of every frame I could see me, or maybe him. It doesn't matter anymore. Standing just behind you, the lens aimed at the back of your head, and the last photo wasn't of you at all. It was of me, smiling for the first time, holding the camera steady, the flash reflecting in my empty face. And I think that means it's already done. I think that means I'm no longer the subject, I'm the collector now. And the next photograph you see might not be one you find, it might be one I take. The moment your eyes meet mine, The instant your life becomes part of the gallery. And when it happens, you'll understand there's no escape. There never was. Because the lens doesn't capture life, it replaces it. And the longer you stare at this, the more you'll hear it too. The faint click just behind your ear, the sound of me saving you for later.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more horror tales.